18.5. He lands up.
Yeah, St. Mary's just didn't score yesterday. It was insane. In a good way.
That was nice.
Oh, it was nice. It was nice. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday from Awesemo.com. This is the NFL Best Bet Show, Divisional Playoffs. We got betting odds, we got predictions, we've got picks, we've got everything that you need. Starting a little late this morning. It can't be helped. A little technical difficulties, but you know what? We're here. I'm Ben Rasa. That's Julian Edlow. Good morning, sir. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. we were talking before the show. The week started great. The Tide rolled on Monday night. I had a 3-1 college basketball night and a 2-1 NBA night on Tuesday. This week's going great. And then Wednesday night, Brandon Ingram misses his player prop by the hook with Zion out. Tim Hardaway Jr. misses his player prop by the hook with half the Mavericks out with COVID. Last night, Tyler Hero player prop 17 in the first half. Doesn't score again. And then it's just been a rough morning here overall, family-wise in the Edlow household. And I haven't had a coffee yet, so I'm all wound up.
I don't drink coffee, so you just got me. Life. This is how I normally look. I look disheveled, but I'm actually fine. Good college basketball night. Since we are pressed for time, we're not going to talk college basketball. I will say quickly, get into Slack. We are on a nice run there in college basketball. We are going to keep it going. At least we're going to try. A lot of smart people in there talking about hoops. So if you have questions, and friend of the show, Giancarlo, thanks for sticking with us. Good morning, sir. We're going to go right into these football games. Chat, I know you guys are ready. We're not even going to I have nothing to say. We're going into it. First game, we've got the Rams. We've got the Packers going into Lambeau, 6.5-point favorite for Green Bay. It's supposed to be cold, but not that cold. It may snow. We'll see. The Rams are coming off an impressive win, but at what cost, Julian? I mean, everybody I know on that team seems to be hurt one way or another. It's going to be Goff, it looks like, giving it a go here. So where do you think the Rams are at coming off that win against Seattle?
Yeah, it feels a little bit like it has to be a down spot. My handicapping in this game, and I don't think they want you to take Green Bay right now, obviously, at the 6.5, it seems like. You could maybe interest me in the Rams if it was up at like 8 where it opened some places. But I think the Packers are going to win the game at Lambeau. I think they're the better team. And I think that the Rams have to get really fortunate to win this game. And they got a fortunate game-changing play against Seattle. The pick 6 where Seattle was driving and could have taken the lead and could have maintained from there potentially. That was the first wide receiver screen that was intercepted in the NFL this season. Those passes don't get intercepted, which is why Russell Wilson threw it. And it looked kind of dumb because it went right at the corner. It was a ridiculous play by the corner and a great blitz, but like that play just doesn't happen. And then not only to get it, but to take it all the way to the house and flip the game like that. The Rams were able to close it out stronger than I thought they would, but that's playing from ahead. What if you're at Lambeau Field down 10 points to Aaron Rodgers? I don't think Goff is going to be able to make the plays. So I think that at 6.5, if you do tease this weekend, the Packers are the obvious piece. If you think they're going to win, there's not an obvious piece to go alongside of it. You're, putting a dog up through some key numbers or being okay taking Kansas City down to like 3 in places that it's moved to 9. That's reasonable. But I just see this as the first place that I'm starting teasers. I really believe in Green Bay winning this game. And then when you want to look to the prop side, how do they get it done? Jalen Ramsey's really good. Nobody shuts down Devontae Adams, but there's going to be some limitations. You look at Devontae Adams going against good defenses. He was held in check both times against the Bears. So this is a game that I think held in check by his standards, at least. So this is a game you look at like Aaron Jones, 68.5 rushing yards, good Rams defense, but I think this is the way Green Bay has to get it done as a touchdown home favorite. That's a place that I like looking. So it's an interesting game. I'm not going to have anything on the spread. Maybe it's an under game. Maybe it's a Rams team total under game. I'm not quite sure yet, but I think the Packers win this one in kind of a grind.
The Rams, yeah, I mean, we'll start with Goff. He came in, Wofford gets hurt, 9 of 19 for $155 and a touchdown. I mean, in some ways, it's somewhat impressive. Didn't turn the ball over, but 9 of 19 is not going to get it done if you're trailing. He looks very reluctant to run. He's kind of seemingly gun shy. I don't know if that's because of the thumb or he just doesn't want to get out there. Kupp is banged up. Aaron Donald is banged up. I mean, it looks like these guys may give it a go, but there is a lot of big time players. If Kupp sits, that's a big loss for them. Obviously, Robert Woods, right. Reynolds, Higbee, these guys are going to have to step up. The prop market, you can take advantage of that if there is an injury. I will say on the Green Bay side, I'm with you. Jalen Ramsey's absolutely fantastic. I was a little surprised that Devontae Adams' receptions was only 6.5, though, just because they give him to me, he gets 2 or 3 automatic receptions on those little bubble screens that they give him. You can't really stop those around the goal line. Ramsey's great. Metcalf last week, though, 5 for 92 and 2 against Ramsey on 11 targets. So he did do his job. I just don't know if they have enough right now to stop Green Bay at home. We had a question from chat. Does Cam Akers duplicate last week? What do you think about him? Do you think that's the Rams' only shot maybe to just kind of control it on the ground?
I do. So Cam Akers rushing prop around 70 yards. That's the only way, right? It's not like Goff's going to be airing it out this week. And, you know, until you're down, the only way it doesn't go that way is that the Packers get up double digits early and they have to abandon the run. The Rams will do everything in their power to stick to the run. And they have in recent weeks. Cam Akers, his rushing attempts prop is set at 16.5. I think that's interesting. He's had 20 or more 4 of his last 5 games, I believe. So Akers should be heavily involved. I think even in a game that the Packers cover and win by 7, we can easily see Cam Akers get 20 carries for 80 yards or something like that. So if there's anything on the Rams side that I'm backing, it will be the Cam Akers props.
I like it. And obviously, I know we're going pretty fast here, but we will have full coverage tomorrow, full breakdown. We're going all the shows. I will be there. Sunday, same thing for these 2 games and the 4-game DFS slate. We have a lot to talk about. So let's move on here, though, to the night game. To me, I mean, obviously, these are playoff games. They're all big-time matchups. Ravens-Bills is about as big as it gets, though. Buffalo, 2.5-point favorite looking at OddsShopper right now. Listen, it's a bad spot. I'm sure they were rooting for Pittsburgh heavily. You would much rather have the Steelers coming into Buffalo than the Ravens, and that's just not the case now. Lamar, I like them against the Titans. He got it done. The Bills, not impressive, but they got it done. What do you make of this? To me, this is the hardest game on the slate.
You think it's the hardest?
I do.
All right. Well, you're a big Bills guy.
I'm a Bill. Yeah. Why? You just like the Ravens?
I do like the Ravens.
That makes
I
me
think
sad,
it's the best game. I think it's the best game. I think it's going to be a fantastic game. That's why it's Saturday night. And I do lean to the Ravens. You know, when everything wrapped up on Sunday, the first thing I did was play Baltimore plus 135 money line for this game because I thought it would be gone. And we saw this go to 1.5 earlier in the week. I think the money line was around plus 115. That's what I assumed would happen. And now it's back. Like, I know DraftKings had a 3 up yesterday. It's moved back to 2.5 since. But I didn't think this would be back in the neighborhood of 3, and it is. So if you can get 3, I like taking 3. I like Baltimore at, you know, plus 125 money line. I think that's fine. I just think the matchups here work so well for Baltimore. Buffalo can't stop the run. Dobbins is going, Edwards is going, and Lamar Jackson, you know, we've talked about this. This is a spot that you target a lot. When Baltimore needs to win, Jackson gives you more on the ground because you have to have it on certain plays, and he'll go and get it. He had 136 rushing yards against the Titans. I think both you and I played the over there. So
we did.
The Bills allow a lot of rushing yards to backs, to quarterbacks. They also, Lamar Jackson, you know, Hollywood Brown's gotten into a little bit of a groove the last 6 or 7 games, which is nice. Hopefully he can contribute in this game, but Buffalo defends receivers well. Where they get gashed is tight ends. Phillip Rivers hit his 3 tight ends for 14 receptions, over 100 yards in that game. And that's Phillip Rivers and the Colts. I think Mark Andrews is going to be a big problem. I think Mark Andrews, I'm either going to play one or both of his props, 4.5 receptions, 54.5 yards. It's somewhere in that range because he's going to be heavily involved in this matchup. So yeah, Andrews props. I think that Baltimore wins the game. They have the second best third down defense in the NFL. The Bills have the second worst third down defense. This game is going to come down to Jackson picking up those 3rd and 7s and the Bills not. And I trust Baltimore, even in the road, even maybe in some weather, to get it done. And really quick, if you're doing player props here, this might be one that I can interest you in. My Unreasonable Odds podcast that we do over at DraftKings, we're going to have weekly odds boosts on it that we pick on the show. So it just went live Friday morning, like 9 a.m. or so. Lamar Jackson to rush for over 100 yards has been boosted to plus 180. His rushing prop's like 75 already. So I'm going to be betting that 74.5 or whatever rushing yards, and then also just taking plus 180 for him to go over 100. He did it last week. He did it a couple times in the regular season. So excited about that, and that is a bet that you should go take.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar is something that, I mean, it's not just us. We've identified in these games, playoff games, he's more apt to run. And when he runs, all it takes is one, when you rip off last week, 48-yard touchdown, well, you don't need to do much else. If you have 9 other carries, even if you're getting 4 or 5 yards a carry, you're at 100 basically. So I don't see that changing. I will say in a game like this, I actually kind of just like the over. It's sitting at 49.5, and you've just rattled off things on both sides that these teams kind of struggle with. I think that Josh Allen and Diggs and them can still move the ball against the Ravens. And the Ravens may run it down their throat. I am certainly worried. The one wild card here is, and I don't know how to quantify it, I'll be honest. Lamar Jackson was adamant that he has never played in snow. It could be very cold. It could be snowing. It looks like it's supposed to be snowing. I don't know what that means. They are a running team, and I don't think that's a huge deal to how Baltimore moves the ball, but it is worth noting.
I think that the snow is going to be one of those things, if you're capping it, like, oh, Jackson's first time in the snow, take the Bills, is going to be one of those way overblown things. Like, he plays in Baltimore for 3 years. Mm-hmm. He's dealt with he goes to Pittsburgh, like in that division.
And
he's dealt with stuff. It looked freezing in Tennessee last weekend. He was wearing one of those things that covers your whole mouth and head. Like,
I got to get one of those for the show. I could use one of those right about now.
Get some heat.
Yeah, it's not even that cold here, but I just like to complain. Yeah, listen, it's going to be, I don't think this is a hot take, but it's very possible that the winner of this game, I think, could represent the AFC. But we will have to talk about, because I will say, as we move to Sunday, I was a little surprised at how many people are, and I guess I'm guilty of this a little, because the Chiefs have been winning unimpressively. Like, they're the Super Bowl champs and they blew through the regular season. Now, they're not blowing teams out,
right?
But they are winning. And they sit, as you mentioned, it's bounced around from 9 to 10 over the Browns here. They're, of course, in Arrowhead, they're rested. Cleveland coming off. I mean, that's my first question. You ever see a first quarter like that? I've never seen anything like that last week.
I mean, that was my big piece, was the Bills-Steelers teaser. We were both very confident in the Steelers. You said you were more confident in the Steelers than
the Saints.
Bucks or the Saints.
Not sharp. Yeah,
that got out of hand fast.
I mean, he snaps it over his head, and then in the third quarter, I was like, okay, after all this, they're actually completely fine. They're right in the game.
Tomlin's punt, yeah. And then both of them. The late one was awful. The late one was just giving up the game.
Yes.
But the first one was on Cleveland's 38-yard line, down 28-0.
It was I don't know, man. But either way, the Browns are here. Can they? I mean, easiest question: do you think they can make this a game?
I think this is going to look a lot like the playoff run that Kansas City had last year. Not necessarily that they're going to win the Super Bowl, or they'll get a very tough game from Baltimore or Buffalo, but in the sense that Andy Reid's coming off a double bye now. They're at home. They're rested. They should be great, but maybe it takes them a little while. Whereas Cleveland, maybe it's a letdown spot because of the big emotional victory over Pittsburgh, but it was kind of stress-free. Like they just got that done early and didn't have to worry about it. So I think that Cleveland's going to maybe get off to a hot start here. And just like last year, we start betting Kansas City live, and then they maybe come back and even cover the initial spread and win by 10. Like, I think it's going to be that type of game. I don't see Kansas City losing at all. If you tell me the Browns cover, it's a 7-8 point game, fine. That doesn't shock me at all. So I think the Chiefs are a teaser piece. I think that they're a piece that I'm going to wait and go in live on. They're a team that I already have futures on, so I don't need to do too much here. So that's really the main thing for me. But the Browns are a team absolutely gashed by tight ends. And we saw it last week with Ebron. Even though Pittsburgh was in desperation mode, they had to throw every play. Kelsey props, just like Mark Andrews, I want a part of Kelsey props, receptions, yards. And then from the Browns side, Nick Chubb has played a pretty big role as a receiver ever since coming back from that injury. Is that like 13.5, 14.5 receiving yards? That's one on the Browns side that you can interest me in.
So anytime touchdown score for Kelsey, even though it probably is going to be, I don't have it in front of me, he probably finds the end zone here. You've mentioned Cleveland's got some issues against the tight end. It's just such a weird game coming off. Yeah, the Steelers threw the ball about 80 times. So in the DFS side, I know Chad's talking about this. So of course, Kansas City stacks are going to be popular for good reason. Mahomes does not make those mistakes. I mean, they thrived on turnovers in that game. Every time Pittsburgh got a little momentum, they would turn the ball over, and you just can't do that. I'm going to throw one more guy into the prop mix. It's Austin Hooper, who I was actually really excited for him to join the Browns. Wasn't great. His receptions prop is 3.5. He's coming off an 11-target game where he had 7 catches against Pittsburgh. He had 15 targets against the Jets. They didn't have receivers there, I want to be clear, but he's seen 5 or more targets in the last 4 games. He's caught 4 or more balls in the last 4 games. Kansas City, 24th in the league against the tight end. They're allowing more than 5 catches a game. I think that he gets involved. I see what you're saying with Chubb, but I wouldn't be stunned to see Hooper have 8 to 10 targets again and have a pretty serviceable game.
I like that.
Other than that, though, I don't really have a ton to say. I think I'm in line with you. I'd be stunned if Kansas City lost. Yeah. I wouldn't even be remotely shocked, though, if this ended up 31-24, 28-20, and it's just, the Browns covered. They were down 17 and they scored, and now that's 10, but they were down 15 and they scored, something like that. Not an interesting game for me to bet against the spread. I'm
not brave enough to take the Browns here, I guess it comes down to, and fade the Kansas City streak where they're just not covering. I think we might see them turn a corner coming out of this double bye in the playoffs. I'm not willing to bet against that. Not to mention,
Andy Reid off the bye, very, very dangerous. And like I said, we're going to tomorrow break down these games in full, no doubt about it. And stay tuned because at 10 o'clock, we've got Josh Ingelman and co. NBA show talking about everything that you need to know for tonight's NBA slate. But last game, we got a couple minutes left, and then we're going to bounce on out of here. I feel like we talk about this game because they play every 2 weeks. It's the Bucks, it's the Saints, it's the random, can you beat a team 3 times in 1 year? It's a pretty simple question. Do you think that's a disadvantage, or do you think that the Saints just have their number? Because I think that's very possible at this point.
I think the Saints might have their number. And there's also nothing to this. I hear you on the 3 times thing. Like that's this old football guy thing. I I wish I saved the number, but I saw something on Twitter of teams that are 2-0 when they play the 3rd time. They have a winning record. They beat you again. There's a reason they beat you the first 2 times.
And it's 5 straight for Sean Payton against the Bucs.
Wow. So I don't know if it's going to be, you can kind of throw the blowout one out the window. I don't think it's going to necessarily be like that. And then in the first game, you can say that one, the Bucs had some massive offensive line issues, and the Saints just took that one out of the gates. First time around, Brady's first game with the team, he's a little bit more confused with the offense. Has a lot of turnovers. If Tom Brady isn't Jameis Winston in that game, Tampa easily could have won that game. So Tampa's going to show up. I think Brady in the playoffs is going to show up, but I think the Saints are better. I think they're going to win this game. I really do, at which, I'm on all the Tampa futures. So I have Tampa like plus 1,800 in the NFC, plus 3,300 Super Bowl. So they survived the Washington football team, the hot upset last week that everybody was on.
At least they covered.
Did not happen. Everybody can have their cover. I'll take my win, and now I can start hedging these futures that I have because, number one, I'm not confident, and number two, it's just time. So I'm going to play some Saints money line this weekend. If it gets to like 2.5, I don't know if it's going to budge. I think it's going to be 3, but
so do I.
I lean Saints. It's not the best game to bet, but it's an exciting one, so you're probably going to want to bet it. I think the over might be a realistic option as well. I think we're going to see a lot of points in this one.
Yeah, I'll just say this. I think it's much more likely that it goes to 3.5 than to 2.5 by kickoff. So I'd be more prone to maybe act if you're going to lay the points right now. It's tough. I do think that the Saints have the formula. They're an athletic defense that can put pressure on Brady without really bringing a ton of pressure. And if you can do that, that's always been what you want. Now, the Bucs, we know they have the talent. I mean, this team, they blew out Green Bay. They've done some things. For some reason, I do think that the Saints kind of have the formula. They looked good. Obviously, they've got Kamara, Michael Thomas, and Breeze, and we haven't seen that all year. They talked about that extensively in the Bears game. With that offense kind of clicking, it's going to take a big effort, but there's no doubt that the Bucs have the talent. Probably comes down to turnovers, like most games. So that's one I actually may take live if either team falls way behind. I don't think that this is a blowout by any stretch. I do think that the Saints win, but if it's like 14-0, I may take a position because I have a feeling it'll be, especially when you play 3 times, I do think that there's less panic. You kind of know the team and you're a little more apt to make it a game, but we'll have to see where that goes. God, I hope the Bucs are done. I would love them out. No offense to you, sir.
I'm going to be pretty big on Saints money line. I'm not really going to care by the time we get to this game. I would think like a Brady Mahomes Super Bowl would just be entertaining, but
no, that wouldn't be entertaining at all.
For people like me, it would be. I will say about there's that weird Green Bay blowout for Tampa, which is an extremely impressive win where we are now. Their other 11 wins are all, including last week, are all against either non-playoff teams or losing teams, because Washington's a losing team. So let's just not even count them as a playoff team. The other 11 wins are all against non-playoff teams. They haven't beat good teams. They lost to the Saints twice. They lost to the Rams. They lost to the Chiefs. There's another one in there. They lost every time they played a good team except for that weird Green Bay blowout.
It does look more like an outlier than a trend for sure. But you know what? 4 up, 4 down. We went rapid fire, but we got through it. Chat, obviously. It's good to see everyone this early in the morning. On your way out, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. We are marching towards 50K. We're getting there quicker than I thought, to be honest. So you guys do your part, and we really appreciate it. We have some fun giveaways in store for you. But again, if you have any questions, you find me and Julian on Twitter. You find us in Slack. We'll be talking about these games, dropping NBA and college basketball plays throughout the week. But stay tuned. NBA coming up next. Good luck, everyone. See you guys tomorrow. Yes, sir. All right, fellas. Check you later.